Good evening. There are fears that an increase in unlicensed boxing matches could lead to the death of a fighter in the ring. Boxing coaches in Hull say that the unregulated fights, often held as charity events, don't follow strict safety rules laid down by the sport's governing bodies. That's denied by those organising the events. Leanne Brown has this report.
They're gearing up for a fight this Friday. It'll be regulated with qualified judges, trainers and doctors. But that's not the case for all boxing matches. Unregulated bouts are becoming extremely popular.
They're happening pretty much every other month. It's not licensed by the British Boxing Board of Control, nor is it recognised by the Amateur Boxing Association of England. And so two lads could be put in the ring together without real, true supervision, if I'm honest. It should be outlawed, it should be stopped. My real fear is someone could die.
This is the kind of fight he's against. They're usually for charity and they draw in huge crowds. Dean organises them to raise funds for children who need life-saving operations.
We get people approaching us to fight, so to make money for the charity like we are, we can't turn them down. They love the training, it gets them fit. They just want the challenge once. They don't want to go into an amateur career. If they went into an amateur career, they'd be fighting someone who's fought for years, and they'd be less safe in them fights.
Andrew, who's a carpet fitter, has been one of those fighters.
The referee comes in the changing rooms and he tells you all the rules, what you're not allowed to do. You can't hit the back of the head, you can't sort of put them in a headlock. You've got your gum shield, which you get measured up for, you've got your head guard, you've got your gloves, you've got a jock strap. I was never concerned about my health or anything, I was more concerned about raising money.
Organisers say they use an independent company called Pulse Rate Training, who obtain medical consent forms, have a medic on hand with more than 16 years trauma experience, and have full medical equipment on hand. But the governing body for the boxing world is against all unlicensed fighting.
We do tell the authorities that it's not a licensed event with us or with the amateurs, and therefore it's up to them ultimately what they do, but we can't actually physically stop it. Some of the people who take part in them are very inexperienced and it can be very dangerous.
Hull has become well known for its boxing talent thanks to Luke Campbell's success at the Olympics, but trainers here feel that all that good publicity could be undone.
You've got two unqualified, untrained kids in the ring slugging, and it's like a fight club. What kind of advert is that for boxing? And, you know, full hats off to Luke and full hats off to the existing professional promoters that have really putting Hull on the map lately. If someone gets hurt, it completely undoes everything what Luke Campbell's done.
It's a sport often criticised for its violence, but all agree that safety comes first. Leanne Brown, BBC Look North, Hull.
Well, joining me in the studio now is Chris Sumpton, who took part in an unlicensed fight just 2 weeks ago and is also on Hull City Council. Chris, good evening to you. Good evening. To see you. Did you feel at risk in the ring when you had your fight?
I certainly didn't. I was very confident in the people arranging and organising the event, and I never felt at risk at all.
This was 2 weeks ago. We've got a picture of you here. I mean, you don't look in a great way. I mean, if you'd been in trouble, are you happy that someone who knew what they were doing would be there to stop the fight?
I was happy to put my name to the event because I was approached by some people involved with the charity Special Times, who and Life for a Kid, who you've seen earlier on with Dean Hoggard, and we had an opportunity to raise a lot of money in a short period of time. Special Times has took 2.5 years to raise £5,000. We earned that in one evening there. Hull
Boxing Club say these fights are not properly supervised and they're no more than a fight free for all. Well,
I'm certainly not an advocate of unlicensed events per se, that all should go ahead.
You're happy to put your name to this?
I was to this one because I was very clear on who was involved, who was on the bill. There was no mismatches, there was no grudge matches, there was a father and son exhibition. I was happy with the referee, I was happy with the safety aspects involved all around the fight. So
these unregulated fights, they're not recognised, they're not licensed. Doesn't that worry you?
It doesn't, like I said. An opponent dropped out. There was a fighter on the night whose opponent dropped out, and somebody offered to fight late on, and when they had a look at him, they felt he wasn't right and he was going to do himself an injury if he was to take the fight on, so he wasn't allowed to fight.
Hull Boxing Club say someone could die.
Well, I have every confidence in my bill, my experience. There was nobody at risk of death on that night. In fact, there was very evenly matched fights. It was in good spirits. Everybody got on, and it was a great, successful
evening. And just
evening.
to confirm, as a teacher and as a counsellor, you're happy to put your name to this?
I was certainly happy to put my name to that event on that bill with those people involved.
Unregulated fights generally?
I think it'd be foolish to say that all unregulated fights go ahead. I certainly, I'm not going to make that statement. I don't think that should be the case. I think if they're well organised, and with safety aspects in place, I'm happy to do that.
Chris, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Do you think more should be done to stop these unlicensed fights, or maybe you think they're a good way of raising money for charities if we just